Hello, I'm Rick Stivers. I'd like to welcome you to Young Martin's Reels. Today's reel is going to be this Eagle Claw made by Wright McGill, model ECA spincast reel. This one's kind of rough. Looks like it's been through a little bit of hard times, but I think we can probably clean it up and make it look pretty respectable again. It's very tight. The button does push, and it doesn't stay pushed, but it does push. If you look here, when we hit the button, it doesn't stay out. Okay, and we should be able to do something with that. Let's see if the anti-reverse works. There's the anti-reverse override. Okay, that's good, but still no button. And the drag knob may work, may not work. I don't know. Depends on what kind of drag it's got inside. So anyway, we're going to take this thing apart and see where we can go with it. Let's start off by taking off the nut on the rotor. I would think that that's what's supposed to be keeping that in, but it doesn't seem to be doing its job right now. Let's pull it over to here, and we should maybe remove it. Nope, can't remove it. Okay, let's see where we go from here. Let's go ahead and take off the handle. Okay. There we go. The washer. Okay, I think we're ready to take this side cover off. Yeah, I know the screwdriver blade is way too wide, but the thickness of the blade is very thin. I ground this one down to be a very thin blade, and right now that seems to be what's working for this. It's got the side cover off. There's the button removed. Okay. Okay. And I believe we're going to have to dismantle this right here in order to take this off. Yeah. What we'll do is we'll push that down like so. We're going to zoom in a little bit. There we go. We've got that zoomed in, and we are going to take a pair of needle nose pliers and pull off this clip like that. See the clip? There we go. With that removed, we'll let the little hat channel slide up, and out. Okay, well, that whole thing came out anyway, even without the hat channel. Okay, so now let's bring this over. Okay, this is our main gear, and it is effectively, seems to be just about welded onto here. And yes, if you look, this should be separated right here, and you should be, oh, hang on. Okay, let me put this back the way it was just a moment ago so you can see what we're looking at. Okay, I pulled out the main gear out of the side, and this main gear should rotate now that the pressure is taken off of it. So what we're going to do, we're going to grab the shaft right here, and we're going to try to rotate this. Oh, no. Let me grab it with something that doesn't hurt so much. Okay, let's try it again. There we go. That popped it loose. Okay, that should be able to spin on there. There's a drag washer inside here. These should not be frozen to the shaft. Okay, now put all that together. We'll take that apart in a little bit and clean it up. Okay, and we still have not managed to get this spool off of here. If it comes off at all. Certainly looks like it ought to. I don't see anything here welding it on there. Okay, now if you're going to do something like I'm getting ready to do, don't do it too hard because you don't want to warp or split or crack this. All I'm doing is just kind of rotating it a little bit, applying a little pressure to see if it will pop loose, and it didn't. Okay, so what we're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and pull this out of here. Try to get hold of some line. There we go. Oh, look, the spool did come up once we got to pulling on it. Okay, now so that's going to lock into these two pins right here are going to lock into there, and that's going to hold this spool on. Okay, but in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and see if I can get this line off of here. I'll be back with you in just a minute. All right, I'm back. I cleaned off the nasty part of the line. I'm going to keep a little bit on just to be able to test the drag with and see what we can do there. But before we do that, I need to look at this and see about this spring, because this spring should be coming in here. There we go. Look at there. What are we looking at here? Okay. If you look here very carefully, right inside here, you'll see a slit. That slit right there is what this spring should be sliding into. See that spring? That should be sliding into that. And that's what should allow the button to stay out when you slide it in. Okay, bring this over. And let's see if we can get it to, there we go. Now, we're still not going into that slot. Let's go ahead and pull this off. Pull the gear out. And let's take a look at how this fits inside here. Okay. All right, we're going to pull that over just a moment to get this to come up. There. See how it locks in? That shaft locks in right there, but as soon as you rotate it, see, you can pull it. You can pull down as hard as you want, but it won't go. As soon as you rotate it, it's going to drop down. Okay, that's what allows that to lock in. Okay, so we just need to scrub this up, get all the dirt and slime off of this, and I think in just a few minutes we'll have everything cleaned up and ready to start putting back together. Here's our anti-reverse. There it goes. It's got a cam shaft, and it pushes it back, brings it in. So we're going to leave it pushed back for what we're doing here. And I'm going to put a couple of drops of oil there. But in the meantime, I'm going to stop for a minute. I'm going to scrub all these parts up, and I'll be right back to you. Believe it or not, I just did a complete reassembly of this reel and forgot to hit the record button. So you're going to see a really fast disassembly of this reel, and then I'm going to walk you back through the assembly. All right, now we have it all disassembled and we're ready to go back together again. And this time we're going to do it videos on, and we're going to walk you through it real quick. The first time I put this together, this sleeve right here was actually frozen in the case right there. And I actually had to take and drive that sleeve out and then clean up the area inside there, re-grease this and put it back together. And I'm going to add a little bit of oil, help to turn it, because this is actually the part that's going to be spinning. The crankshaft itself is not going to be spinning, and they actually give you an oil port right here to be able to come and oil this and keep it oiled properly, which obviously someone had not been doing. Okay, so we're going to set this down on that now, and we're going to come back over here to our crankshaft. Now our crankshaft, we're going to put just a small amount of grease on my hand, and then we're going to put that same small amount of grease on our drag washer. Slide it down on there. And I was going to put this on dry the way Shakespeare reels are done, but after I put it together, it either had drag or it didn't have drag. It was almost all full on or not. So I'm going to go ahead and grease these ever so slightly and put it back together with a little bit of mild grease. Okay, slide that in. And again, on the back side, small amount of grease. Put a little bit on the drag washer itself. Slide that back together. Then we're going to put this click ratchet on for the exactly the way I all right, see those? I couldn't see them very well on the camera. I put it on backwards. Okay. Now, make sure that these are facing to the rear from the top, like that. Okay, can you see them now? Let's see if we can get it focused. Okay, there we go. They have to be facing to the rear so that they can skip past that anti-reverse claw. If they're on the other way, they're going to skip all the time. All right, now let's put it back in. Throw the anti-reverse lever forward. That moves the anti-reverse pawl forward, and slide this in. All right. You got to keep the sleeve in, like so. All right. Once you've done that, hold it in place. Flip this lever back to the rear. Now, hear that? That's your anti-reverse doing what it's supposed to do. Okay, now put your drag star adjuster back on, and you got to rotate it. Make sure you get it on level and don't force it. Don't get it cross-threaded. Crossed. There it goes. Okay, that'll hold that, keep that from falling out. Back down. I believe that we can assemble this outside of there and put it back together. So we're going to try it that way before we go doing anything else. All right, we're going to start off with a little grease on the pin for the axle shaft, and we're going to slide on the gear like so. Then on goes the spring, with the spring in place, you should be able to put this hat channel back on. Slide the hat channel down, and we should be able to slide this clip back into place. Like so. Oh, thought I had it. There we go. Then make sure that the hat channel rotates around so that that clip fits inside the hat channel like so. Okay. Okay, we're going to take our axle shaft and slide it in. Like so. There we go. All the way in. Now, take your spool. Make sure to keep this extra line out of the way. Those two pins right there. Those two pins on the bottom of the spool, well, they go into those two notches right there. Slide this around. Slip it in. Make sure this spool line stays free. See, I got it trapped underneath. That's bad. Don't do that. There we go. Slide it down in there. Make sure it locks into place like that. Once it's done that, you should be able to take your spring over here, lift it up over the ramp like that, and it should lock into place. When it does, your spool no longer will come off. Okay, like so. Keep that line over out of the way. Now we're ready to install the side plate with the button. I've already greased the button pin that it pivots on. Let's bring it around, bring the button out, set this plate in place like so, and let's put the screws back in. All right, with that done, I should be able to push the button and it should stay out like that. When you rotate this around, it should drop back down. Okay, push the button, axle shaft stays out, rotate it, axle shaft drops in. All right, now this particular one had this washer on it when I took it apart, and I'm not positive that it belongs there, but I'm going to leave it there since that's where it was when I got it. We're going to install the rotor, install the star washer, and install the nut. Tighten the nut down like so. Come back over to this side. We're going to put our tension washer back down on the shaft. Get it lined up. Now I added a little bit of bend to this because it was had been flattened, but and I might put just a little too much in it, but it'll flatten itself back out in a hurry. Okay, slide on the handle. Slide on the nut, screw it down. Tighten the nut. All right, there we go. And we're going to want to get hold of this line down inside so we can use it to test our tension. Okay. I only left enough line on here to be able to test the drag. It's not really there to go fishing with, so this is still going to need to be serviced. All right, buttons in. the biggest problem that I'm having with the reel right now is that this piece right here, it's supposed to be on here. It's supposed to snap down on there. It's got, if you look very carefully, I don't know if you can see them or not, like right here, there are little tabs in here that are supposed to hold this snapped onto the spool. And they don't do it. They're not snapping on. And so believe that what we're going to end up doing is we are going to clean the spool very, very well here. And then we're going to clean this piece here very, very well. And I'm going to go back and epoxy this on to the spool. Because without this piece on there, the reel will not function. The line will constantly catch here when you try to cast it. So this plastic piece has got to be on there in order for this reel to function properly. So I'm going to go ahead and wind this line back on to the spool just to get it out of my way mostly. There. All right. And I'm going to clean this with acetone, and I'm going to clean this with acetone. Get them both, all the parts really good and clean, and then I'm going to glue this piece onto here so that that will stay on, and the reel can function as it should. This reel has caused me a lot of grief. However, we are at a point where we can get it all together now. This plastic ring right here is supposed to snap onto this spool. However, the pieces, or the little clips inside it that are supposed to hold it, were flared out enough that they couldn't hold it in place anymore. So what I did is I took some 5-minute epoxy and I went ahead and I glued this on. And now what I'm going to do, let me put on a pair of glasses so I can see what I'm doing. All right, what I'm going to do, see the spring here? I'm going to take this spring and pull it out past this little ramp so that it locks into place right here. Let me do that where you can see it better. Okay, this little spring, I'm going to pull it over and lock it past this ramp like so. With that done, I'm now able to slide this spool down into here and rotate it around until those little pins, that's these pins right here, drop into these slots underneath. Okay, rotate it around, there we go, we're locked in place. With that done, we're going to grab hold of the spring, pop it back up, and now this should be locked in place. All right. Well, I'm going to take one more moment for a second and get hold of this line, because now that it's got the proper plastic piece on it, this line would be very difficult to get out. So I'm going to do it this way. All right. Okay, spool's locked in place. We're going to put the rotor back on. Oh, let's see. We are missing this copper washer that was on here. Still don't know if it belongs, but it was on here. Rotate this around until it drops into place. Screw on the locking nut like so. Let's take our line and run it through the cap. With that done, we can now take and put the cap in place like so, and the reel should now function and properly, which it does. No, it doesn't. What are we missing? Yeah, it does. Okay, let's check our drag. It works. Let's loosen it up just a tad. There we go. Okay, your drag has to be tight enough to be able to wind it. There we go. And the drag's working, the button's working, the anti-reverse override is working, like so. Back that off. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and wind the line on inside. And there we go. There is the Eagle Claw Wright and McGill Company model ECA spincast reel, probably from the 1960s. And we're going to send that on to Ken, and hopefully it will make a nice addition to somebody. So for now, this is Rick Stivers with Young Martin's Reels, signing out.